new Charli XCX and The Strokes albums are here. Greg Freeman announced a new album and played the whole thing in New York City, where we also just saw shows from First Day Back, Ancient Death, The Menzingers, and more. I'm Dave, I'm here with Andrew, and you're listening to BV Weekly. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Dave.
How's the baby?
Good. Getting so big, learning how to make sounds with his mouth.
Nice. You meanwhile have continued to be on a show hiatus for obvious reasons, but that also really means that you've been missing out on all the action because since you've been gone, there's been a huge development at concerts. I don't know if you're fully up on this, but we now pee and poop publicly at shows. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I heard about this. Finally.
What a time for you to step back from concerts.
And I just deal with lots of pee and poop at home.
No, that's a really great point that you've got. Yeah, I'm experiencing none of that. Not even close to as much as you've got in that department. That's a great point. I was just reading about this guy allegedly peed on a family at a Morgan Wallen concert. They were having some drunk guy was behind them being annoying, and they turned around and were like, "Can you go away?" or something. And then next thing you know, they start feeling wet, and the guy is just whipped it out and was peeing on them. And then he made a video of going and reporting it to the police, and the police all just standing there like, "Sorry, there's nothing we could do about it." I don't know where that's gone lately. That would be interesting alone. But what makes it more interesting is how out of nowhere the past few months, this is just becoming a more common kind of story. Even if the context is a little different.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I feel like the Morgan Wallen one is especially yikes, especially because the family included an 8-year-old girl.
Right.
But then there's the Olivia Rodrigo, Noah Khan, people just not wanting to lose their spot peeing things, but also to give credit to the pioneers. I mean, someone peed on the floor at a Sabrina Carpenter concert a year ago. So we don't want to overlook those who paved the way.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
The Sabrina Carpenter one. Somebody peed in the middle of the crowd because they didn't want to lose their barrier spot.
Oh, right. So this didn't start as recently as when Olivia Rodrigo made the comment about smelling diapers in the front row.
I mean, my mind goes even to Blind Melon, which isn't the fans, but
Or Gigi Allen, of course.
Oh, well, that's different. That's peeing is the least bad thing that happens at a Gigi Allen show.
Right. Although now I'm also remembering the turnstile poop in the pit, right?
Right, exactly. One? See, it's been a long saga. It just
been building.
To have been,
yeah,
it's been ramping up. You know what it is? Maybe is that I think I do think I don't think it's anything necessarily new, but I do think that this post-COVID I have to be at the barrier thing is a newer trend, maybe helped by TikTok or something. I don't know. But it's I feel like there's a big concerts. There's this I have to get there early and wait by the barrier thing that's more intensified. And now I think the artists are noticing it. And so they're saying things about it. So now it's just the talk of whatever.
And Noah Khan has been continuing to talk about it after someone allegedly pooped at one of his shows in the past few months, in the front row, like you said. Although at least Olivia was in diapers. The Noah story was the person just let it on the floor or something. I can't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
During his show in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday night, Khan addressed the ongoing situation by saying, "Hello, Congress. Oh, people have been pissing all over the floor at my shows as well." He said, "You guys are ordering by act of Congress that everyone has to wear diapers before they get in." Yes, so now Noah is asking Congress via the stage at his Washington, D.C. show to actually declare that you need to wear diapers at shows. So, yeah, to avoid the floor moments. But okay, that's where we're at. That's the state of concerts 2026. Please, everyone, stop pooping and peeing outside the bathroom at them. I understand if You couldn't help it, but
You do?
I understand if you couldn't help it, and the reasons weren't because you just didn't want to lose your
Didn't
spot.
want to leave it. Yeah, right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want
medical emergency will be excused. Meanwhile, I did go to a lot of shows this past week, which I risked life and limb to do it. In all three cases, it's actually kind of crazy here in New York. No pee.
But did you pee on the floor at them?
No, I didn't pee. I didn't smell pee even. I didn't slip on pee or poop. Probably maybe on the sidewalks on the way there. But on Thursday, after we recorded last week, I headed out in wildfire smoke, which was causing many shows to get canceled, actually, like Central Park. They were all canceling the shows. But I headed out. It was actually pretty surreal. It was like this, smelled like maple syrup in a campfire. Just the color of the sky. You were literally walking through this smoke cloud that was covering New York City. And I went to see Ancient Death at TVI. I wasn't going to miss that show. And it was not, in fact, canceled. Then just days later, on Sunday, I could not resist going to see the Menzingers, who were playing at 2 p.m. Rough Trade downstairs in store. In celebration of their new album that just came out. So this is 2 p.m. on Sunday. The World Cup final is at 3 p.m. Rockefeller Center has had, it's now over obviously, a viewing area for the World Cup. So this is already a highly trafficked area that's full of tourists. And for months, people are watching the World Cup where, in Rockefeller Center, where they have the Christmas tree, the famous New York City Christmas tree, and where people ice skate, that whole area was turned in. They put huge, big TVs up. There was no longer ice on the ground. And that's where you could go and watch the World Cup. And so on Sunday, you figure people were online to get into that thing at like 7 a.m. I don't know why fully, but to be all together and watching. They also had the Central Park just for the final on Sunday. They did the huge viewing area there in conjunction with Global Citizen, who put on the halftime show with Madonna and Bieber. You could all watch that.
And Shakira.
Sorry. And so I had to go into Rockefeller Center 1 hour before the World Cup was beginning and it was like a police state. And actually, you couldn't even get to Rough Trade without showing like a ticket because they had cops everywhere. And it was, they're worried about something bad happening at this large gathering. And so anyway, it was a challenge even to get into the store, which the new Rough Trade location, there's 2 Rough Trade locations now over there, the record store. One is still upstairs, like there at 30 Rock, where, SNL is filmed and Jimmy Fallon, everything. It's upstairs outside, but then the new Rough Trade downstairs, which is their new bigger location, you actually have to go into the subway. And then there's like stores underground in the basement there that are, on your way to the subway and stuff. And one of those is Rough Trade downstairs or whatever it's called, Rough Trade below, sorry. And that's where the in-stores are now. It's like a much bigger space. And so you have to go down there, you have to tell the cops and security. I couldn't even get to the store. Luckily, I knew people inside who came out and told them he can go in because I didn't have an actual physical ticket to show them. Anyway, I got in. Menzingers played like 8 songs, including multiple off their new album. It was great. I love them. They're the best band. And but then I actually was able to get into the Rockefeller Center thing. So I went upstairs and watched the game outside in the blaring heat with no shade, with lots of other people. But then one more. Tuesday, New York City, we were getting tornado warnings and flooding warnings. And right in the height of that was when I was supposed to go see Greg Freeman, which we'll talk about a little more in a minute.
Wait. Didn't you also see First Day Back that same day?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay.
I know what you saw better than you do. This is the one I had the most FOMO about. I love the Menzingers. I've seen them 15 times or something. But First Day Back, we're in New York for the first time and you got to see it and I didn't get to see it.
I was sticking to the dangerous excursions theme and this was the least dangerous, but also a little stressful because the game went long, right? For the World Cup final when it went into overtime, and I didn't. Gap Year was opening for First Day Back all the way at Baby's All Right in Williamsburg, which is, an hour subway from Rockefeller Center. They were going on at 7, and I realized at like 5:40, I'm still in Rockefeller Center. The game is still on, almost 3 hours. I managed to watch the game all the way to the end, saw Spain win, saw the Spanish fans really excited, walked through the streets, people chanting, jumping, dancing, going crazy. So I got to experience that. That was fun. Made it through the police, back into the subway. And by the way, thank you, Toby, longtime Brooklyn vegan photographer, Toby Tenenbaum, who also was working at Rockefeller Center. Anyway, I made it in the subway, made it to Baby's All Right. I got there around 7:15, so Gap Year was already on. And there was a long line outside. This is like a super sold out show. I was surprised there was still a line outside at like 7:15. There's all ages, by the way. I didn't know if we remembered that Baby's All Right can do all ages because, it's a bar, but it was.
I'm actually surprised. I wonder how many total all ages shows Baby's has done.
I'm not surprised they agreed to all ages in order to get that show, but
I figure I assume we were talking about the ages of the American football crowd, and a Midwest emo band, just like First Day Back, who are not from the Midwest, but stylistically a Midwest emo band, who are like 25 years younger than American football. And I'm going to guess that this crowd was mainly younger people.
Yes, definitely mainly younger people. The line was down the street when I got there. So that was a little confusing. I'm wondering if the all ages thing is what caused the line to be slower, because they have to do extra.
Well, they have to check IDs, like really, and put X's on hands maybe, or not give a certain wristband or not give a certain wristband probably.
But luckily I still got in time to see at least 10 minutes of Gap Year. And the place was already insanely packed. Despite the long line outside, there were already a lot of people in the room, but super packed, very, very, very packed. People were going crazy for Gap Year. So nice work, Gap Year, like opening that tour. I'm assuming and then First Day Back played. Yes, I saw First Day Back, and Baby's All Right was a complete insanity from the first to the last song.
And that was their second New York show of that day.
It was their second New York City show of that day, their first ever announced New York City show. The context of this tour is this First Day Back are like, emo revival band who have been popping off and live in California and who are in college.
Just graduated college.
And that was the context of this tour. They're like, now that we graduated college, we can finally tour East. So they came to New York for the first time. They just had one New York City show at Baby's. A few days before the show, they announced they were going to play a second show earlier in the day for free outside the Numero Group pop-up, which is currently at South Street Seaport in New York. That show was supposed to be at 1 p.m. They then delayed it till 2 p.m. that morning because they posted they woke up with a flat tire. So now you've got the Menzingers playing uptown at Rockefeller Center at 2 p.m. and First Day Back playing at the exact same time downtown at South Street Seaport, which is a really weird coincidence because we don't have that many day shows in New York, or not notable day shows.
It kind of felt like a bit of an old school New York experience. Like, I mean, I feel like it's been a minute since this because of maybe just the changes of the types of shows in the city. But like, I feel like maybe 10, 15 years ago, I might have seen 3 shows in one day on the Saturday or a Sunday or something.
Exactly. It was nostalgic to even have to make this decision. It felt like, wow, this hasn't happened. And let alone 2 emo adjacent punk bands that, I'll say that at least one person who I saw at Menzingers also was later at First Day Back at Baby's All Right. So I wasn't the only person who was at least trying to make the decision between the 2 daytime shows. Anyway, First Day Back played that show, and then both shows happening exactly 1 hour before the game, which both places also viewing areas. I think you could watch it on screens over at South Street Seaport too.
Yeah, I'm sure. And our friend of Brooklyn Vegan slash former Brooklyn Vegan contributor, Jeremy, was at the Seaport show, sent me some videos. Looked also packed, also nuts. Was kind of like the Geese show outside last year. Like just this energetic outdoor New York City show, lots of young people. I had a lot of FOMO.
Young people who were braving the extremely hot, extremely bright sun that was happening also right at that moment, which I then felt while I was watching the game. But yeah, so yeah, this was all cool. It was exciting band, exciting day. And New York City was waiting, right? First New York City shows, and this is a pretty new band, and these shows sold out quickly, and everybody knew all the words, and everybody was going crazy, except they didn't know all the words because they also played like 4 new songs.
Nice.
Seems like they're almost ready to put out another album.
And did they cover Title Fight at the show you saw?
They did not. I think they said there was some reason they covered Title Fight a few days earlier in Atlanta. I forget why. They gave some reason, but they don't usually do that. I mean, do you think it's weird they covered Title Fight? Because isn't that a little misleading? Like, should they be covering kind of, a less known emo band that influenced them?
I don't think that. I mean, they're clearly influenced by Title Fight. They're
okay.
There's at least one song on the record that I think sounds a lot like Title Fight, but obviously they're not. They are less known than Title Fight, obviously. I don't think they're known. I'm not gonna. They can cover wherever they want, but it's cool because I do feel like it's like with Title Fight being gone for so long, Haywire, Midriff, like all the Title Fight cover is kind of like, it's like the new Fugazi cover, like remember, like when Scal opened the Sound and Fury set with Waiting Room, like that's still cool. 30 plus years after that song came out, that's like still like, oh, they're covering Fugazi. This is sick. Like I feel like the Title Fight cover is now like a cool thing, but even more like coveted from First Day Back because, Haywire's kind of done it a few times now. I feel like First Day Back, you told me off air that people were shouting for it in the encore at Babies and they didn't do it. So now it's also got this rarity to it where like maybe they'll never do it again. Or maybe they will. And like, if they ever do it, it'll be like, oh, they finally did it again, kind of thing.
I'm not 100% sure if it was the first time Haywire did it, but the first time Haywire did it, at least that I remember, was in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, home of Title Fight. So it felt like Haywire was also doing covers relevant to the town they were in, which is always a cool thing. And that was not First Day Back who did it in Atlanta.
Right. I was thinking when you said like there was some significance, and I was like, I don't know what that would be in Atlanta, but for sure, like Haywire, I feel like they did it because they were in Wilkes-Barre, and I don't know because we haven't talked to the band or anything, but like maybe it was such a moment on the internet when the video broke that maybe they were like, okay, people love this, we better do it some more. Also, while we're talking about it, we should mention the Static Dress thing at Outbreak. This was a couple weeks ago now, but like Outbreak announced a secret set as has happened at these hardcore festivals, before. Sound and Fury's always got one. And Static Dress were the band, but they projected on the screen like a blurred out Title Fight logo, and it was obvious enough to those in the crowd that it was a blurred out Title Fight logo. Guitar player comes out, plays the riff to a Title Fight song, and then Static Dress, the blur unblurs, and it says Static Dress, and the whole band comes out. It's like, like a cheeky troll move. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like
there was video of lots of crowd members walking away after they realized that it was only Static Dress.
Yeah,
but a lot of people stayed too, of course.
Yeah. I mean,
Static Dress.
I mean, they're also like I like Static Dress, but that's like such a different band than Title Fight. Also, not really a hardcore band. So like, I'm not surprised if maybe the Outbreak Fest probably has a lot of attendees who are like, I'm not trying to see Static Dress. I like them, just they're out of place a little bit,
Well, they're also not your typical secret guest.
Right. I guess because they're a UK band. So
maybe bigger
Outbreak
there.
being a UK festival, maybe they were just like, we'll get a local band. I mean, obviously they're like adjacent to that scene. I don't want to say the wrong thing about them, but you know, they kind of sound like Under Oath. And so maybe like Outbreak Fest crowd might just be like, oh, like this is more like a post-hardcore, like emo-y thing and not what I'm looking for. I don't know. But they're a good band and it was a funny moment. And yeah, title fight covers, title fight fake outs seems to be the hottest trend since pooping on the floor at a concert.
So First Day Back, their album last year, which was great and which caused this mania and demand for them coming to New York, was like self-released or something. It's not on a big label. And so it feels, like I said, they play new songs already. They seem already ready. They're great live, by the way. And the singer also plays harmonica and violin sometimes. And I imagine there's a bidding war going on for this band right now.
Well, it's interesting you said they played like the Numero Group pop-up because like I know like them and the Ritornello Forum just announced a show with Jay June, who are like they're doing the reissues on Numero Group. And I think Numero Group. I always, for some reason, I like say that word wrong, even though I know that it's Spanish for number. But I think Numero Group's presenting that particular show. But it's interesting because there seems to be like Numero Group is like they've taken it upon themselves to do all these 90s emo reissues. And so like these 90s style young bands like First Day Back and Ritornello Forum and Race Course and stuff like that, my point of view, they seem to be just like immediately like being like brushing shoulders with a lot of these 90s legends that influenced them, a lot of whom have issues on reissues on Numero Group. But it's like an interesting thing compared to like, you know, the first emo revival where it was like all these new labels like Top Shelf and Run for Cover and Count Your Lucky Stars and stuff like signed all these new bands. And like, so I'm almost wondering like, does First Day Back just sign a Numero Group? You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if they, like versus like, you know, signing to like Wax Bodega or something or Pure Noise, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, didn't Numero Group kind of sell to Secretly Group in recent years? I don't know the exact nature of that relationship, but
I don't know the answer.
I think they are. I think Numero are officially part of Secretly now. And then that, of course, makes you wonder if Secretly would even back that, because if you could have First Day Back on Dead Oceans, that might be a little, of course, it's up to the band.
Yeah. I mean, Scowler on Dead Oceans, which was kind of crazy because it was like this long time coming thing I felt where it was like, oh, finally an indie label like signs a band from the punk world after they've brushed shoulders so many times. If First Day Back was like the first like true emo band on Dead Oceans, that would be like such an interesting development. But I don't know. Algernon are on Saddle Creek now.
I was going to say Bright Eyes is on Dead Oceans, but you probably don't mean he's a true emo band.
Yeah, Bright Eyes has the Death Cab thing of like they were indie and emo. They had both.
I should say though, First Day Back this won't even be their first show with Jay June. They've played other shows with them already. I think. Also remember they toured with Everyone Asked About You earlier this year.
Yeah, which is another band that has a Numero Group thing, right? And I feel like also Everyone Asked About You really got like way bigger in the past few years than they ever were. Like the resurgence of them really elevated them. Not quite American football level, but like they weren't being talked about like this.
No, their streams are kind of crazy. They have like TikTok viral level streams. I think like 600,000 monthly or something.
Yeah, and Jay June are like bigger than ever too. I mean, they have more streams than a lot of 90s emo bands that were bigger than them in the 90s. I've noticed that it seems to be that there's like a new crop of 90s emo bands that are getting like kind of a resurgence thanks to like this new generation. And I think a lot of it does have to, I mean, you have Everyone Asked About You and Jay June also both have female singers. And I think that they're like, I think Rainer Maria were kind of like the one big one, but I feel like there's been like a little bit of a push from the new generation to highlight some more of the female fronted emo bands of the past. And also a lot of these young bands like First Day Back and Ritornello Forum and Race Course, in my point of view, their singers, they either do like dual vocals with multiple genders, or, or like it's not just like a bunch of dudes in the current kind of second wave is back scene. So I think that's probably related. But
well, they need to give Rainer Maria a little more attention this round, because actually Jejune has 4 times more. I'm happy for Jejune, but I was a little surprising that Jejune have 4 times more Spotify monthlies than Rainer Maria right now.
And they have like, not that this is a gender thing, but I just happened to notice the other day, they have like, I think like 9 times as many as Christie Front Drive. And I was like, whoa, like, so it's like, it's like when the first emo revival happened, I felt like Christie Front Drive reunited around then. And they were one of the, like, they kind of benefited from that sound being back. And now it's like, there's a new emo revival of the same style, and they are like not one of the bands. And it's just interesting to watch how you see new generations like kind of claim different bands from the same era as like, it's kind of like the Deftones thing a little bit, but on a smaller scale. Anyway, just interesting.
First Day Back, meanwhile, have double Jejune, and everyone asked about you have 3 times First Day Back. So they're the biggest of all.
Yeah, I mean, they really, again, like they were not that big the first time around. They're just like such a key band from that era now for so many young people. And it's not quite American football, but it's similar in ways. Like, it's really interesting.
I wonder what you think of this one, Jejune, not to be confused with the Jazz June. Jejune, Jazz June actually has the same amount of streams as Jejune. So like, is there like a Jazz June moment waiting to happen?
It feels like, I mean, they pop up in my Instagram feed a lot. I mean, who knows why, but they also they posted the other day about loving the split from Ritornello Forum and Stella. So I do wonder too, if like the Jazz June are obviously tapped into what's happening now, which is interesting, and not all the bands from that era, I think, are like tapped into the new scene. So who knows, maybe the new scene is tapped into them too. Again, I don't know the answers, but Jazz June made a big comeback in the first emo revival. They played a Brooklyn Vegan show, A Baby's All Right. You remember that?
I do, and I don't want to say anything negative, but I don't have I mean, we were excited to have them, but I don't have like a strong memory that, that they were pulling in First Day Back crowds to our baby show,
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean.
They also were on like a non-emo lineup. It was during CMJ, but yeah, they had they did a new record. Evan White's produced it. It was on Top Shelf. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're gearing up for like their second comeback.
Right. Part of me is wondering if they'll be bigger this time.
Yeah. I mean, very possible.
All right. Any final thoughts on the emo revival by the man who wrote the book, Emo Revival?
The last thought I have is, just because I don't want to seem like A&R executives or something, I wouldn't be surprised if these bands stay unsigned. Like, it's really fascinating how much energy is surrounding them, and they're all really putting their own records out. Like, they might just be like a testament to, we don't need labels. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they get signed either, but I just don't want to be like, oh, like, who are they going to sign to? And we're like, wow, those guys are way off. It's like not what this is. Like, it's just, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just release the next record themselves. But also, regardless of what they do on the next record, I want to say it's so cool to see just like so much energy surrounding these bands who are self-releasing their records, just like playing shows. Like, a lot of the stuff I see about them on social media is just like footage of people going nuts at their shows. And, like for a minute there, because there was kind of that new crop of emo bands that popped up during COVID lockdown, a lot of it was very TikTok focused. And this scene seems very like not TikTok focused. They seem very just like play shows, people come, have the energy, have the experience live, and it's just so cool to see that happening in emo still and again. And I find that their scene is very refreshing.
Amen.
Yeah.
Can I just really quick say, since we talked about the shows I went to, that Ancient Death show I went to Thursday, if people have been listening a long time, they might know the name. Ancient Death, or you might know them anyway. But one of my, I won't put words into Andrew's mouth, but one of my favorite metal records of last year, it came out over a year ago, Ancient Death's album. And this is like I forget where they're from, somewhere on the East Coast, higher than New York. They barely played any shows. If they played 5 shows last year, in the entire year their album came out, I feel like they played like 5 shows. Anyway, they definitely didn't play New York. They finally announced the New York show. I didn't even realize it was happening until like 2 weeks before. That was last Thursday after we recorded. So I finally got to see Ancient Death. I was excited about that. And they were great. And they're funny because this singer guy always says, he didn't talk much, but he said, "We are the Ancient Death." I like that. Like, there's no actual "the" in their name.
It's kind of like how some people say like the Sonic Youth.
Yeah, we are the Sonic Youth. And they were fucking awesome. And also Replicant, shout out from New Jersey, who opened dissonant death metal band Replicant. They are also really good. This was the night of the wildfire. Like I said, I luckily did not feel any breathing problems. I will say though, the venue had smoke machines on stage. Maybe not the best night to have smoke machines on stage, but yeah. So anyway, good band. And I hear a rumor. I don't know if we can't technically say yet because, but in related news, this show was at TVI, but in related news, it has been announced that the venue, St. Vitus, is reopening. New York City's favorite metal venue, St. Vitus, that closed a bunch of years ago. They have found a new home. Brooklyn.
And favorite emo venue. Maybe First Day Back's next show is going to be at St. Vitus.
It could be. And so St. Vitus is returning, and they are announcing this today, the same day as this podcast comes out, the first group of shows that are going to be happening there. Before today, it was already just announced. Emma Ruth Rundle announced a tour, and St. Vitus is on her itinerary. So it's happening. I think she might even be the first official announced show by accident. I do hear that Ancient Death may be coming back to New York City sooner than later, this time at St. Vitus. And then stay tuned for who else is coming to St. Vitus.
So who else did you see this week?
I survived the World Cup. I survived the wildfire smoke. And I survived a tornado to head out on Tuesday night with Bill and Amanda to see Wendy Eisenberg and Greg Freeman at Union Pool in Williamsburg. It was a last minute, almost surprise announced Greg Freeman show happening on Tuesday, the same day that he announced his new album, and he played it in full that night. And Wendy Eisenberg, who plays a lot of shows in New York. We were talking about Wendy's getting like a lot of new attention for this great album they released earlier this year, and which is on our favorite albums of 2026 so far list. We were saying there's a lot of new attention on Wendy, but they play a lot of New York City shows, but I had never seen them. So this was my first time, and now I've been listening to the new album a bunch, so it was great. Wendy was great. But yeah, I got to see Greg Freeman play the full new album. I know you're super jealous.
Speaking of our best albums of the year list, Greg was high up on our list last year with Burnover, and it was my personal favorite album of last year.
He played no songs off it.
Crazy. But but I do happen to know that he played the album in full, like you said, and it's like over an hour long. So I guess I'm not surprised he had no room for, could have done it like an encore, some old stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'm jealous that all 3 of you were there and I was still on live show hiatus. And you saw him at, like you said, Union Pool. And along with the album, he announced a tour that hits Webster Hall in November, which is like 7 times as large as Union Pool or something. So you also got probably the most intimate Greg Freeman show for a long time, until the next time he does an intimate show like this.
Right. Even his last New York City show, I think, was at the much bigger Bowery Ballroom.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm impressed that he's already jumping to Webster Hall. I mean, I'm happy because, again, I thought Burnover was easily one of last year's greatest indie rock records. there were people I saw agree with that take, but it was not as popular as other indie rock records that came out last year. Anyway,
I think Webster Hall holds like between 1,300 and 1,500 people for a show.
yeah, I feel like I consider it a 1,500 person venue. So it's like more than 2 Bowery ballrooms.
Right. And Union Pool, where the show was Tuesday night, holds like 200 maybe at
Yeah,
most.
like 200,
Right.
I think.
Possibly 100. It's
Yeah, it's small.
it's a small room, yeah. But I looked at other dates on the just announced tour. It does seem like New York City is New York City's venues are always bigger because an artist, there's more people. There's just more people that want to go to shows like this here. So
there's more people that just live here. I mean, the population is,
But even so I looked at LA because that's usually the roughly similar size venue, and the LA show is only 500. I don't know, maybe they'll add a second date there, but.
Well, Greg is from Vermont, or lives in Vermont at least, but I think he has like a footing in the New York scene, I guess. I don't know. It's like he, like Wendy Eisenberg is a New York City artist, but like, I feel like Greg played, I think, with This Is Lorelei, and obviously that's like one of the bigger local names last year.
That was that cool Knockdown Center show outside that Amanda got to go.
Amanda was at that. Yeah, I feel like Greg has he's in adjacent to people who are in the New York scene. So he probably has like a bit more of a base here, I guess, than some other cities that he doesn't live in. In any case, so I loved Burnover. It was definitely in that realm of kind of like countrified indie rock stuff. Like, he got a lot of comparisons to MJ Lenderman. He also, his voice on his first album, the one before Burnover, was always compared to Jason Molina, just like MJ Lenderman's voice was always compared in the early days. I felt like he had a little less of that on Burnover. Also, he kind of would sound like Stephen Malkmus sometimes, but it definitely had that like countryish edge. This new record, which was produced by John Congleton, who is one of my personal favorite producers in indie rock and punk and stuff. I mean, he did the last Mannequin Pussy record. He did the new Basement record. He did Cloud Nothing's Here and Nowhere Else. He's got a really cool touch. And the new album's called Indu. And the first single that's out, the first single is called Indu. That song, I think, is pretty different sounding from everything he's ever done. So what was it like seeing this album live? I mean, like, I don't know if you went in blind or if you heard some stuff beforehand, but like, what were you kind of feeling watching him play like this new stuff?
Well, not only did I go in blind, meaning I have not heard the new album yet, which I've never seen it before. So this was also my first time seeing Greg Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter that I didn't know the songs. The set was great from start to finish. It was great to, I knew that that I would be listening to this album a lot and that we would be talking about this album a lot for the next year. So I was excited for the chance to see it, even though I'd never heard any of the songs. You don't always want to see an artist play all 100% songs that you don't know. But this was not the case here. I was excited for this to be my first listen, if you want to call it that. And they were great. He is a really fun band who, fun fact, none of them, I don't know if they all used to live in Vermont together, but they currently all live in different parts of the country. It was like the drummer lives in Boston. One of the guys still lives in Burlington, Vermont. I don't even know where Greg made a joke that he doesn't have a home.
Yeah, he's moved around. Even when I said like he's in Vermont, I was like, I better fact check that because he's moved around a lot. And like his the title of his last album, Burnover, is a reference to like Western New York, where he spent time. So yeah, even like it's like even calling him like a Vermont artist is like, then there's like this whole like Western New York theme to his last record. So it's like, yeah, he's kind of very nomadic, I guess.
Yeah, the drummer lives in Philly currently, and the bassist is in Maine. So they all came together, and this was also the band that play on the new album, though. He did make a point to say that. So this is like his permanent band. And I haven't seen him before. So I didn't really look into it, how long, if this has just been his long time band or what it was. But they're fun, super fun band. They get right out the gate in song one that they do, I'm bad at describing these things. The song gets real, the end of song one, you've heard the album, I think, but does it get real dissonant at the end? Like
I've heard the album, but not enough to be able to answer those kinds of questions.
Oh, you know how bands often end with like the Sonic Youth freak out on stage or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Song one ended like that. So that was a really great introduction to the power of this band. It went from like, the song went like it just started getting faster, and then, the craziness. So that set the show off to a good start.
Yeah, Burnover the last track on Burnover is kind of this like more dissonant, like arty, like because he had the Americana angle. I always said it kind of reminded me of like Wilco's A Ghost Is Born with like the weirder like
Wilco's a good
like the Nels Klein era stuff.
Exactly.
And I feel like that song, which was kind of an outlier on Burnover, seems to be almost like a teaser for this new era. I feel like there's more of that kind of stuff in this new record. Yeah, no, now
you've I like that Wilco comparison, actually. I should thought that. I haven't seen Wilco live in a long time. Even now I'm remembering Wilco shows, which were always watching the band a lot, too.
I mean, the more that this whole new era of alt country is a thing, the more Wilco just seemed like so influential. And like, I was actually like, I forget if I said this on a podcast, but I went back to like Wilco's first album, AM, because a lot of this new alt country stuff sounds a lot like that record. And Flory, who have a member playing on Greg's record, also a Vermont band and also a Philly band, another band with members in different states.
Was one of the people that was at this show in Flory?
I don't know.
Okay.
But Flory covered a song from that Wilco record with Kurt Weill. It's on their new live album.
Mm.
So I feel like I remember, we talked about Being There when we did the 96 albums. Like, I feel like Being There is the beginning of Wilco as most people know them. So AM being like almost more like kind of like becoming their own band out of the ashes of Uncle Tupelo. Like sometimes that record gets like less attention after they became like Wilco. But like now I've been going back to that record because I feel like it's so influential on a lot of these new bands. And it's like, if that exact album came out today, people would be like, oh, there's another cool new band. And like the all country, like it sounds so modern because so much of the modern stuff sounds like it.
Okay. It was Flory's drummer. Sorry, this is exciting to me.
It's exciting to me too. I was stoked when I saw Flory's name in the press release, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. Then I was focusing so much on the different band members. And he said, this is my drummer. He's from Philly. Now he lives in Philly. Yes, he's the same Flory drummer. He was really fun to watch.
So he said now he lives in Philly. So that, because Flory, like I said, Flory and Greg were both Vermont. So maybe they met in Vermont and then the drummer moved to Philly. If I had to guess. Because Flory was a Vermont band, but now they're a split between Philly and Vermont band.
Right. Okay. Yep. So that's more proof that was him. He's got like the John Denver haircut going on. Ooh. And it was fun.
So yeah, I can't wait for this record. I didn't say the name of it though. It's called All Set the Bone. The song is called Indu. I misspoke earlier, but the record is called All Set the Bone and it comes out on October 2nd. But go ahead.
Well, it's fun. I think Greg, like myself often on this podcast, Greg felt like at a loss for words. He didn't know what to say between songs. So we knew that we were going there to see the album in full and it was announced that way. But I was thinking, since I didn't really know the songs, I couldn't say for sure if I was hearing the album for full. It was funny. He never actually mentioned that's what he was doing. He just played a show. He occasionally said, thanks for coming.
So he pulled a Mars Volta.
He shouted out my opener, Wendy Eisenberg, a few times. I don't remember. I can't tell you if they said, right. Maybe that might have been the same thing. But he failed to mention like, oh, I announced my new record today and that's what I'm playing. Like none of that. Until he sort of mentioned at the very end something about these are the people who played on my new record. Just kind of assuming we knew, which we did. to be fair.
He seems like a little shy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was it. And so poor shy Greg fell twice on stage. Sorry, I'm calling you out, but it was a highlight of the show. It really made, it had us all laughing. The show, the stage is very small at Union Pool, and they're a big band with a lot of equipment, so it was tight. They didn't have a lot of room to move around. He's got multiple guitars. He did make one joke. He said, "We often get called slacker rock. We're not. It's not true. We're not, but we are. But it does describe how we leave the guitars on stage." I don't remember exactly. He was implying like they weren't very organized on stage with the placement of their guitars. Anyway, then he that's just to set the scene, is because he twice during the show backed up and didn't realize that the little amp was behind him, and he fell backwards over it. Luckily, he did not get hurt either time.
Oh, that's good.
But he was very embarrassed. And especially when it happened the second time, it was at the very end. He's like, "You know what? This show is over. I can't play after this." And then, but everybody gave him his confidence back and said, no. So he played a little bit longer. That was fun. And just one last thing I need to shout out is that Wendy played as a duo with a violin player. I always get nervous when I say violin because I don't.
Like, what if it's a viola?
Yeah. So sorry if I'm getting the name of the exact instrument wrong, but...
Well, this is why music critics should play instruments.
Exactly. So that... And yeah, that's first... I said it twice this episode because both Wendy had a violin player and the singer of First Day Back also played violin sometimes. So Wendy's other band member was also notable musician themselves, Morgan, that's Eaze, who also released an album this year that Wendy plays on, I actually realized. And Wendy is so prolific. Actually, when going to replay before the show Wendy's most recent album, I realized it's not even their most recent album anymore. Like something else already came out. Did you realize that? It's like a collaboration with two other people.
Who? Oh, Wendy Eisenberg.
Wendy Eisenberg already
is it
has
like
a newer...
Is it like a guitar, like avant-garde kind of record? Or
probably, because that seems to be the vibe in general with Wendy. And Wendy also super badass. You figure there's a lot of industry and press in this room. This is like everybody. They did sell tickets to the show, so some fans as well were able to get tickets. But this was definitely like, Greg Freeman is announcing a new album. We're going to put him in a small venue and invite a lot of press and industry. And Wendy opened the show. Greg is a huge fan of Wendy and said he was honored that Wendy was opening. Anyway, and it was perfect for me, who was like two artists that are extremely currently loved by us and me. Anyway, Wendy, do you think Wendy took that opportunity to highlight songs on their very acclaimed album from earlier this year? Maybe. I can't remember. I didn't really figure out if the set list or if I was hearing songs off that album, but they definitely played a lot of songs that were introduced as, this is brand new, wrote it like yesterday, never played before. It felt like a very badass move, especially because they really pulled it off. The combo of Wendy singing and guitar and Maurice playing violin. He even said like Maurice was like figuring it out as they went along, I think sometimes. Anyway, it was really good. I really liked their set.
Wendy and Maurice, I believe, are partners, by the way.
Okay. I wasn't gonna speculate.
I don't think I think it's true.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not true.
No, I think it's like in interviews and stuff. Yeah. Like
Wendy also did say once that their drummer wasn't there because they were at the Bob Dylan show, which was happening at the much bigger Forest Hill Stadium that same night. So, I only had to head to Union Pool in a tornado. The Bob Dylan show, the tornado never came, and the Bob Dylan show went on as planned, amazingly. I think that would have been the show most likely to be canceled.
Well, Bob Dylan keeps the tornado away.
Yeah, people making that long trek to Forest Hills, assuming they're not
That's cool that the show went on too, because didn't like Noah Khan cancel his City Field show that night? Like, and
a lot of shows didn't happen this past week because of the reasons I mentioned, but also Saturday night, which I did not go out. Noah Khan, that was probably the biggest one. Noah Khan's first of 2 City Field shows where the Mets play was canceled.
And if it was downpouring, then it would have washed away the pee. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Would have been
And
fine.
that was Saturday night. Yeah. Noah Khan then also played. Oh, maybe Noah also played Sunday. Was his City Field show, his second City Field show, the same? Oh no, never mind. That was the World Cup night. I don't know. Anyway, the Noah Khan one got a lot of attention because people who probably were planning on peeing it in the seats were online really early to get barrier, and they waited all day in the rain, getting rained on, probably peeing, which was good because they were probably peeing in line. No one even noticed. It was washing right away from the rain. And then like right before doors, it got canceled. So they're, I always go back to the videos you saw on social media. They're like, oh no, we're here all day. It's now canceled. And Noah felt very bad and gave as he often does, gave a little speech on how he feels bad and whatnot. So yeah, it's been an eventful show week in New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else to say on Greg Freeman?
No, I would like to talk about the new Charli XCX album.
Which is actually out.
Yes. If you've made it 54 minutes into this podcast, or if you fast forwarded to this moment, we are finally talking about one of the most anticipated albums of the year, Charli XCX's Music Fashion Film. Her second album of 2026, because Wuthering Heights also came out, even though that album seems to be like weirdly being, its existence seems to be being over. Like, I don't think it's like an overlooked album as in like I think it's like, because it was a companion record to a film, I feel like it's like people are like, oh, Music Fashion Film is the first Charli XCX album since Brat. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's the second. And it's the second in 1 year. But I do feel like Wuthering Heights kind of helped set the stage for Music Fashion Film. It had a song with John Cale, who was on the cover of Music Fashion Film, along with Mark Jacobs and Martin Scorsese. Also, the only guest on this record is David Cronenberg, because Charli is letting you know about the iconic men that influence her. I felt like that record was, Wuthering Heights was Charli kind of like taking a bit of a step back from Brat, doing something a little more scaled back. And then there's this album, which I think Wuthering Heights actually kind of set the stage for really well.
So what does David Cronenberg do on this album? That's what we really are all wondering.
It's spoken word from David Cronenberg. And there's also a visual album where it's like a music video for every song, and Charli talks in between the songs.
And she debuted the visual album in actual movie theaters, and like,
yes,
people could go see it.
Yeah. And the David Cronenberg spoken word happens alongside some relatively creepy footage, not as creepy as David Cronenberg's body horror movies. But I think when you see David Cronenberg, when you see the creepy images as he speaks, it's a little bit more like, oh, I see why this had to be David Cronenberg. But when you just listen to the album, it's a little bit like, I feel like this could have been anybody, but she was just like, no, it's got to be David Cronenberg, just so his name's on the track list.
Sometimes you feel that way when you see movie credits too, even like kids' movies. Like,
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Or really,
I feel that way when you see Paul McCartney played bass on one song on the Rolling Stones' new album.
Yes, and what's his name?
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith is on there too. Yeah. But they did defend this, but Jeremy Allen White of the Bear fame was the Jabba the Hutt's kid or whatever in the new Mandalorian Star Wars movie, which was all like CGI or something. Anyway, I was definitely like, did that have to be him? I think they did defend it, like he made the movements or something. Anyway, go on.
Did he do voice acting or
yeah, no, he was. It was his voice as the
that count. I mean, that counts.
The thing. Yeah. No, but
you like
it's hit the level of fame that he had when you didn't actually see him in the movie. That's where I'm going with that comparison.
What about Eddie Murphy being Donkey?
Yeah, well, he earned but Eddie. That was a little more recognizable Eddie Murphy, maybe. Skills.
Fair
Eddie
enough.
Murphy's got skills. Anyway,
what
sorry,
about Flea voicing the Wild Thornberrys guy who doesn't make real words? See, it's like a fun fact like that. Do you know what? Do you know what I'm talking about, or do you not because you're too old?
Oh,
to
I do.
seen?
I'm justifying. Okay. I'm agreeing with her decision to get the name in there.
Okay,
but you did kind of get a little like why it didn't need to be him. So I'm like,
oh yeah, no. But I see. I think the difference though between this and Robert Smith on the Stones record is like his name's on the track list. Like I think Charli. I think she is amused at the track list coming out, and there's no guests except David Cronenberg. That just feels like something that she's happy about.
Yeah, it's a flex. It's
for sure a flex.
And a personal accomplishment.
Totally. And it's interesting because, like she's this pop superstar, and not a lot of pop superstars are like, I want to be around David Cronenberg and John Cale and Martin Scorsese. The Marc Jacobs one maybe is like, I don't know. I'm less aware.
More stereotypical.
Well, no, I'm just being like, it maybe like if someone was like, oh, like Marc Jacobs had something to do with like the new Dua Lipa record, I don't know if I'd be like, that's crazy. The way I do with like John Cale and David Cronenberg and even Scorsese. But in any case, yeah, it's just like she's not acting like a pop superstar, but also she still is that. And I think that makes the record really interesting because it still has a lot of the same like it girl swagger as Brat. But we talked on this show when rock music came out, the song Rock Music, and it was like, is this a troll move? Blah, blah, blah. In the context of the album, it's track 1, and I like it as an intro to the album. It doesn't seem as trolly to me in context as it did as a standalone single. When it was released, I don't think she'd even announced the album yet. It's cheeky. It's definitely like, it's cheeky. It's not like dead serious, but the album has a lot of rock on it. It's very much, I think you could say Charli is making rock music, but she's doing it her way. She's making it sound like Charli. And, a lot of the lyrics are still Charli. The auto-tune is there, but not always. There's like the song that was already a single, SS26, which stands for Spring and Summer 2026. It almost sounds like a Phoebe Bridgers song or something. Like, it's like, there's no, like the first time I heard it, I was like, how is that Charli XCX? But yeah, it's just got a lot of cool stuff. And like Wuthering Heights, I think it's an album that people who don't listen to pop, but do listen to indie would like, or like art rock or whatever. And I'm really curious to see how it gets received. Like, it's not as drastic it's not like as reactionary as like Radiohead going from OK Computer to Kid A kind of thing. But I think it's in that ballpark of following up the massive breakthrough superstar record with an album that's going to take some people a little more time, I think, to adjust to. I really like it. And I think it has a lot in common with a lot of the music that you and I both like. And I will be curious to see if it like attracts some people who just maybe weren't Charli fans in the past. Because again, it's got a lot of more like indie rock stuff, but not in the way of like, we talk about Olivia Rodrigo having these rock songs. It's so different than that. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess. I know that's what you're supposed to do on a podcast. It's like a little more postmodern, I guess, than like, I feel like Olivia is like, I'm influenced by 90s and 80s alt rock, and I incorporate it into the context of teen pop in 2026. Charli, I feel it's like, I have taken this postmodern approach to rock music, similar to the way PC Music, the two people she made the record with were both in PC Music, Finn Keen and A.G. Cook. Similar to the way PC Music took a postmodern approach to pop music, which kind of became then known as hyperpop. And so it's kind of like this, postmodern look at rock music, but it's also not just, it's like, it's not a genre exercise. The whole album is not rock. Like it's so easy to get caught up in talking about that angle, but I feel like that does a disservice to the music. It's just like a great Charli record. It's got really cool synthy parts. There's a song called I'm Afraid, which has really like kind of ominous arrangements that feel like it could have fit on Wuthering Heights. The David Cronenberg thing, super creepy. It just got like all kinds of different moods and styles to it. And I just think it's a really, really interesting way to follow Brat, and a really effective way, because she really couldn't have like one-upped Brat. She couldn't do Brat 2. You know, Brat became a phenomenon that was bigger than the album. To try to beat it at his own game would be like nearly impossible. We're already living in a post-Brat world. Like, there are albums I think you can call post-Brat, like the new Slater album, like the new Underscores album. Underscores is going to be on tour with Charli this year. And so it's like, why would Charli then have to make her own post-Brat album? Instead, it's like she took this sidestep, scaled back, made something totally different. And it feels like a fresh start in a way, which is, I think, what she needed after an album that massive, that caused such a phenomenon. So I think it's really good stuff.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I have not listened to it yet. I've heard the rock music song, but your review sold me. But I've also never been as into Charli personally as I am right now. I think, you know, Brat really, before Brat, you were just speaking about myself and you, and obviously Brooklyn Vegan, we've cared about Charli for a long time. You've been much more of a fan and are much more aware of her previous pre-Brat albums, which I was like, no, I don't know if that's for me. And then Brat really changed that for me, but then Wuthering Heights sucked me in an even newer way. So yeah, everything you were saying, I don't know if this album will like bring people in that weren't Charli fans before, and I'm almost saying like that already happened to me.
Yeah, and you know, like I'm curious if it'll happen to more people with taste like you, who are less obsessed with hearing everything as you are.
Yeah.
So that's like, you know, I mean, this is a topic that comes up all the time when someone makes a pivot and you're like, oh, it didn't reach the people that probably actually would have liked it, you know? So I think it'll be interesting because people have preconceived notions. People might be saying, I don't listen to Charli XCX. She's a radio pop star. I don't listen to radio pop stars. And I'm like, you might be surprised at how this album sounds if you think that you don't like it because you have preconceived notions, you know, that kind of thing.
Will it reach the Strokes fans?
Honestly, the fact that this comes out the same day as the Strokes album is so interesting to me, because it's like the whole rock music thing. And then it's like, you know, rock is back again. The Strokes are like the preeminent rock is back band of the last 25 years. And their album is almost like not that rock. Their new album, Reality Waits, which is their 7th and produced by Rick Rubin, is out the same day as this one. And it's got like more auto-tune than the Charli album. Maybe that's an exaggeration. But it definitely has Julian Casablancas doing auto-tune as an instrument, and not at all worrying. It seems to me like they're not trying to capitalize on the fact that rock is back, and there are all these big bands like Geese who are like obviously modeled after the Strokes in ways. They're just doing their own weird thing. This is like probably like this and Angles, I think, are the neck and neck for the weirdest Strokes album.
It's like Julian's solo material.
Yeah, it almost feels more like a Voids album at times than a Stroke, but it has like a couple of those classic Strokes guitar parts, but it never really like rocks or like riffs the way that like Is This It and Room on Fire did. And like you could just picture if the Strokes just like, you know, pulled like oh, let's just like kind of rewrite Is This It? Like it'd be huge because like the timing would be right. But I don't think they're interested in doing that. And I think you have to admire them for just marching to the beat of their own drum.
Will you be back on shows for when the Strokes play their big show in Queens coming up with Beach House and Fuckers? And TV on the radio? Is TV on the radio on it?
Yeah. Isn't it I don't know. It's a maybe. Like I actually have been talking to my wife about like maybe we try to go to that show. But we also like really want to see, well, we probably can't do both. We'd have to get a babysitter if we both went also. So this is not interesting to anybody. But no, we'll see. We'll see when I get back on the horse or whatever. Not the one on the Strokes album cover. But my own metaphorical horse. Yeah, we'll see. That's a great bill. So TBD, listeners of BV Weekly.
I was looking back at various Strokes shows I've seen through the years. In 2006, I actually saw the Strokes opened for Kanye West on a bill that also had UK electropop group Goldfrapp, who were also pretty big and exciting at that time. And this is 2006. The Strokes are already huge. And
Kanye hadn't praised Hitler yet.
Kanye had definitely not. Pharrell was a guest with Kanye at that show. This was a small, speaking of like special underplays, this was at this fancy New York City venue called Capitale, Capitale, which doesn't usually have shows. It was sponsored by Hennessy. It was a free show. Brooklyn Vegan was already popping off, so I got an invite to this.
Humble brag.
And that was, it was exciting times. I was speaking of, like you said, sometimes nostalgic for like a free first day back and a free Menzingers show happening the same day in New York. Also, the back then you could just, it was way more common that an alcohol brand was just like throwing a Kanye with Pharrell, Strokes, Goldfrapp show at some random location in New York.
You said 2006, so that would have been 7 years before Downtown Music Fest had all of Black Hippie at that same venue, which I was at. Were you at that show with me?
Oh, maybe.
I saw Earl Sweatshirt at some other smaller venue, which the name is escaping me. It was some venue that like I don't think I'd ever been to before or since. And then I went over to Capitale for Black Hippie right after Earl Sweatshirt. Like that's the kind of experience I'm talking. You know what I mean? Like you could do that at one point. Like that's incredible in hindsight. And then also like all of Black Hippie, Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, Absol, they've only played like I don't even know how many shows as actually Black Hippie, but like that was not common, you know? So anyway, I had to get my own little brag in. Maybe you were there too, but go ahead, Strokes.
So I'm looking back about this Strokes show, and there were a lot of celebrities in the crowd, including musician and country producer Shooter Jennings, who was with his girlfriend at the time, Drea De Matteo, Sopranos fame. And really, I'm mentioning this because we mentioned last week that Shooter Jennings produced the new Jess Williamson album. Jess Williamson, also known as Half of Planes with Waxahachie, which, by the way, congratulations, Waxahachie. While we're recording, we just found out that Katie and Kevin Morby have had their baby. Speaking of babies, no more shows for them. We were saying last week that Shooter Jennings producing this new Jess Williamson, a forthcoming Jess Williamson album, kind of shows that she lives a little more in the traditional country world than the more indie country people were calling indie country folk, including her bandmate in Plains, Waxahachie. We also, on the last episode, talked about the weirdness of satanic doo-wop band Twin Temple ending up on a Charlie Crockett tour, country artist Charlie Crockett, that they then got kicked off of, and all the weirdness and beefs that ensued. Well, what we didn't realize at the time is one connection has since revealed itself between Charlie Crockett and Twin Temple. We did mention on the last episode that right after all this went down, Twin Temple conveniently announced a new album, which seemed like very perfect timing with all the controversy going on. What we didn't mention is the Twin Temple album is also produced by Shooter Jennings, who, in addition to working on the upcoming Jess Williamson and Twin Temple album, produced like the last 4 Charlie Crockett albums. So there you go. Was it Shooter Jennings who introduced Charlie Crockett and Twin Temple, or at least who somehow got Twin Temple on the tour without Charlie realizing that they worshipped Satan? We can only speculate.
Could have been.
What other news do we have going on this week? Are there any other new songs you want to mention really quick? New album announcements?
Proto Martyr announced a new album called Hotel Usona, which is produced by David Freeman, which is awesome. Probably best known for producing The Flaming Lips, MGMT, and the bio was written by Iggy Pop, who, like Proto Martyr, is from Detroit. Also cool is that Steph Chura announced an album called Dancing Alone on the Concrete, which was produced by Apples in Stereo's Robert Schneider, who also produced the Neutral Milk Hotel records. It's got other Elephant Six people on it. It's got members of Sugar and Peter Buck and Mike Mills of R.E.M. are on it. Robert Schneider also worked on fellow Elephant Six vets, the Olivia Tremor controls for his album in 27 years. The Same Place, which comes out on Elephant Six in October and features previously unreleased material that was assembled after the deaths of Bill Doss and Will Cullen Hart. We also got album announcements this week from Teenage Fan Club, M83, Chelsea Wolfe, and more. Speaking of Pharrell, his former Neptunes bandmate Chad Hugo just released his first solo single ever, which features Tierra Whack and LaKelly 47. And outside of course, we talked about Greg Freeman. Outside of Charli XCX and The Strokes, you could find written reviews of those records on BrooklynVegan.com and notable releases, where we also wrote up the new Madball. Speaking of Madball, we got new album announcements from Hatebreed and Pain of Truth this week. Rico Nasty's new record, RX, which was reunites her. The whole thing was produced by Kenny Beats, aka now Kenneth Bloom, who produced all her early mixtapes, and it's them working together again. So it's a cool return of form. And a new EP from Tiny Voices. And an indie basement on BrooklynVegan.com. There are reviews of a new Baxter Dury EP, which is extended mixes of songs from his last album by Paul Epworth, Alex Cameron, Josh DaCosta, and the legendary Robin Hitchcock.
It's Robin Hitchcock's 25th album, which he made in his current home of Nashville with ace session musicians, including Dr. Dog drummer Eric Slick. Sorry. And if you want to hear more about that Robin Hitchcock album, well, obviously, like you said, go read Indie Basement. But Bill also talked to Robin on the May 18th episode of the BV Interviews podcast. So you can hear a lot more with Robin on that. That was a great episode. Also, this week on BV Interviews, you can hear our interview with Tricky. It's well worth a listen. He talks about his new album, as well as talks about his appearance in Fifth Element, the movie, all the way back then, and much more. Definitely feels like a rare conversation with Tricky. And the new album is great. Should we keep going with the news?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, super sad news. Every week, of course, we have super sad news. Less than a week after revealing that she had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer, we got the heartbreaking news that L7 bassist Jennifer Finch has died at 59 years old. We're really sad about this one, and tributes have been pouring in from many legends, including from Courtney Love, who called her oldest friend. Meanwhile, Courtney Love's former whole bandmate Melissa Aftermar has announced a new release that includes unheard 90s demos and new field recordings, her first newly released music in more than 15 years. Empty Country. Can you tell us about Empty Country, Andrew?
Empty Country is the current band of Cymbals Eat Guitars leader Joe D'Agostino, and they make really great indie rock. And they made the theme song. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. They made our theme song.
Joe wrote and recorded the theme song to this show, BV Weekly. Actually, an Instagram commenter asked us recently, if that's you and you're listening, shout out you, asked us, what is that song at the end of all your reels? It is Joe from Empty Country and Cymbals Eat Guitars doing the theme song to BV Weekly. Empty Country is New York based, but doesn't play a ton, but he announced a hometown show coming up at Pianos on October 3rd. A place Cymbals Eat Guitars definitely played when they were coming up 15 years ago. And it is with Strange Pains, which is led by a member of Empty Country, and Joe produced, played, mixed all kinds of stuff all over that new record. So it'll be a cool little family affair. October 3rd at Pianos. Go check out Empty Country and Strange Pains.
Complete pivot here. The Gathering of the Juggalos have announced their 2026 lineup, festival lineup. Highlights include both Vanilla Ice and Milli Vanilli. Both fresh off not actually playing Trump's America 250 celebration. So if you were sad about missing them there.
And the aforementioned Hatebreed.
Hatebreed also on that bill. They always book a wildly surreal lineup.
Yeah. Sarah Sherman from SNL, though, I think the most surreal one. But I guess...
well, she's kind of a surrealist comedian.
She is. She is. Yeah. Has she... I don't know if she's talked about Juggalos before, but if not, someone should talk to Sarah Sherman about Juggalos, because I bet she has a lot to say.
I would not even be surprised if this isn't her first time appearing on that fest.
Right. I'm actually, I could be talking. I have not researched. So this is like, don't judge me if this is stupid. Anyway, keep going.
Les Savy Fav are playing a few shows this month, and they just announced one happening later in the year at Music Hall of Williamsburg in Brooklyn, which is closing at the end of this year. And they have played there many times, notoriously. So they will be doing it one more time. Tickets are on sale, and you can find all their dates at their site. Australian sample pop group The Avalanches have announced a single North American show. Hopefully they announce more. But meanwhile, that one North American show, which is also their first New York City show in 9 years. Japanese noise rock greats Melt Banana have announced a U.S. tour around Riot Fest and Levitation.
And the Avalanches also put out a song with Karen O.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
New Jersey punk legends, the Bouncing Souls, have announced more dates on a big tour with Suicide Machines. And the Souls' ex-tour mates and fellow punk vets Face to Face also just announced more dates to their own 35th anniversary tour, which has some cool openers on each stop. They're announcing it like city by city, including New Jersey with Dead Guy and the Movie Life.
Epic bill, I think. And Face to Face are playing their 1997 live album set list at these shows. So basically all songs from the first 3 records. So sick. I mean, Dead Guy and Movie Life on the same show is sick regardless. Then you have Face to Face headlining with a set of all classics. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Very cool. Deadhead documentary Summer Tour, produced by Chloe Sevigny. She has now become a well-established Grateful Dead fan, who I used to hang out with at raves and dance clubs before she did Kids and became a famous actress. So her interests are very varied. Is now in theaters.
Second humble brag of the episode.
Yeah, I know. It's the theme of this episode. But I needed to give that context that it's not like I didn't see her at any Dead shows. I saw her raving. You can go see that movie now in theaters, Summer Tour. I don't know. She produced it. She's also been doing like all the appearances with it, like at Brooklyn Bowl, at jam band friendly venues like Brooklyn Bowl. She showed up and did screening and talked before with the director and stuff. Yeah, it didn't use. She's not like heavily associated with jam band Grateful Dead music.
I was surprised. I didn't know when it was announced. I was like, I didn't know that she was a Deadhead. So, but I guess rave culture and Deadhead culture.
Oh yes, not a million miles apart, especially the modern fests.
Yeah.
Probably. Last year, the first volume of a Neil Young tribute compilation, Heart of
Neil
Gold.
Young, who you used to hang out with, like back at.
Oh yeah, no, that was when I was me, Jerry Garcia, Neil Young, and I went.
Yeah, but you were there.
I was there. Last year, the first volume of a Neil Young tribute compilation, Heart of Gold, The Songs of Neil Young, Volume 1, had Fiona Apple, Sharon Van Etten, Brandy Carlisle, Mumford & Sons, the Doobie Brothers, and Allison Russell, Steve Earle, and more, covering the icon to benefit the Bridge School. Now, the second and third volumes have been announced. Heart of Gold, The Songs of Neil Young, Volume 2, Out of the Blue, and Volume 3, Into the Black, are due out on November 6th. Volume 2 features covers from My Morning Jacket with Preservation Hall Jazz Band, Ann Wilson, Los Lobos, Edie Brickell, Tyler Ballgame, Jesse Malin, and more. And Volume 3 has King Princess, Modest Mouse featuring Caliphone, Ben Gibbard of Death Cab for Cutie, MJ Lenderman, Kurt Vile and the Violators, and more. Some exciting compilations of Neil Young covers. Current Long Island hardcore scene leaders Pain of Truth have announced a new record on Days. You already mentioned that. Right after Hatebreed announced their new album, and the same week that Madball is out, we've got new exclusive vinyl variants of that Pain of Truth album, of that Hatebreed album, of the Chelsea Wolfe album that you mentioned in the Brooklyn Vegan shop, which you can pick up at shop.brooklynvegan.com, along with t-shirts, non-exclusive vinyl variants, cassettes, CDs. CDs are coming back. All right. If you prefer CDs, email bvweekly@gmail.com and let us know.
I am so prepared for this moment. I have hung on to my CD collection for years, knowing that one day it would be considered cool.
CDs are cool again. I think cassettes came back, but I don't know that. I think CDs are probably outselling cassettes big time. There are some articles about those stats you could find if you want more specific information. Otherwise, head to BrooklynVegan.com, shop.BrooklynVegan.com, and talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Dave and I will be back every Friday morning with new episodes of BV Weekly. And in between the episodes, you can always get much more from us at BrooklynVegan.com, on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can pick up records from us at shop.BrooklynVegan.com. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about us, subscribe to the show, give us a good rating. All that little stuff goes a really long way. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. So until then, thank you again, and see you next time.